2nd, 2022 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. Please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time open the floor to public comment. Hearing none and seeing none, we will move on to agenda item number 3. And I'll call on Tammy Bender to discuss Resolution 2022-2022 and item number 4, Resolution 2022-2023 for budget adjustments. Tammy?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first resolution is for retirement. It's increasing revenues by $600,000 and expenses by $100,000. It's for a new investment that was entered into in 2022. It's the IIF infrastructure. The second resolution is for the Fiscal Employer Agent Fund, increasing expenses by $1,247,000. This is to close the Fiscal Employer Agent Fund and transfer the remaining cash between the General Fund, Aging, and Community Services. Is there any questions?
No.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yep.
We'll move on to item number 5, contracts and grants, and I'll call on Angela Smizer.
Thank you, Holly. Good morning, Commissioners. Item number 5 is contracts and grants. Section 1 is existing contracts, contract extensions, or addendum with no additional cost or increase to the county. These are for aging and children and youth. Commissioners, do you have any questions about this section?
No.
All right, moving on to section 2, consisting of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. First, we have aging, and I will call on Kim Winton to discuss. Kim?
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. The first one, Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, is the distributor for the food pantries to purchase the food to distribute, which is funded by the State Food Purchase Program. And Contact Helpline and the Mifflin-Juniata County Area Agency on Aging is pass-through funding for aging and disability resource centers.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Commissioners, do you have any questions? All right, moving on. We have contracts for children and youth, and Jamie Ryber is joining us to discuss these. Jamie?
Good morning, Commissioners. I just have one today. It's Family Centered Services. Janelle Carball, she does our family group conferencing, and we did not increase her rates this year. However, we did add some additional new programs. We added a rapid response program for her to provide these services within 72 hours. And we also negotiated an administrative rate with her to cover like her employee time when they're traveling to a conference, when they're picking up food and doing things like that. So we added that to the contract as well.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Next, we have Court Administration, and I see Melissa Cavanelli is joining us via Zoom. Melissa?
Hello. We have 2 contracts. I apologize. I'm at the prison, so I can't see the agenda right now. One is the court orders workflow, which is a change to the workflow system to allow us to add a lot more functionality. We'll be able to inject anything into workflow, not just something coming from the filing offices, including correspondence, which will allow us to track pretty much everything that goes to a judge. It'll also allow the judge to sign orders directly in the system and allow e-filers from the prothonotary side only currently to attach Word version orders, which would be editable by the judges to be signed prior to, basically it's going to make the process much more electronic. They don't have to print, sign, and send it. They can actually do it all directly through the system. This is being paid for by Records Improvement Fund money and already approved by that committee. Any questions on that one? Okay. The second one is for Sage Technology Solutions. This is basically prepaying because the systems they no longer offer maintenance agreements due to the age of the systems. We are allowed to prepay for maintenance services by buying in blocks of $8,000. We can save 12% of the cost. So what we would do is pay the block. As we use the services, they would draw down from that, but it would be at a 12% savings. So this is money we're already spending. This will enable us to save the 12%. Any questions on that one?
What's the funding type? Who's funding?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
see. Who is providing funding?
For which
The
one?
last was
That's out of the
just
general
mentioned.
fund. That's what we currently pay those funds out of our budget.
So we do this on a drawdown basis. Is there ever a balance left, or is that all?
I don't think there ever will be. This is the first time we're doing this. So we've been paying the invoices as they come in. So after the work has been completed, we pay it. What this does is we're going to pay them the $8,000 up front, and as services are performed, they would draw down from that.
How do we arrive at the 80,000?
Currently I'm sorry.
How did we arrive at the $80,000?
That's the blocks. No, 8,000. That's the
Eight
blocks of service
thousand.
that they sell, 4,000 or 8,000. If you do 4,000, the cost savings is less. It's a lower percentage. If you do a $4,000 block, you only save 7%. $8,000 block is the 12%. So far this year alone, in stuff that would have applied to the block, we've spent $13,000. So we could have saved 12% of that if we'd have gotten the block of service ahead of paying that, which again, we were not aware of. We reached out to them regarding extending maintenance agreements, and this was the option that was offered to us.
Okay, I mean, that's arrangements only work if you're utilizing the services as in line with what you're paying. In other words, are you spending $1 to save 50 cents? So we'll
Right
just
now,
wanna
we
see
spent
what the-
$13,000. If we would have had the block in place, we would have
Right.
spent $1,600 less than that, the 12%.
Okay,
Melissa, I think some of the issue with this is that it says that there's the paper says there's a 12% savings over current invoice amounts. See attached, and there are no
Yes.
invoices.
No, I attached the calculations. Attached was a piece of paper that showed how much we spent on the invoices in the prior years. But I have the updated figure for 2022, which is now over $13,000.
I don't have the attached.
So in 2020, it was included with the information I sent to finance. Again, unfortunately, I can't send anything right now. I am sitting on the floor at the prison. But
Melissa,
if
that's
someone can reach
okay.
out to Lana, okay.
That's okay.
I guess
get it.
we are easily spending more than $8,000 every year. So when the drawdown runs out, I will request another drawdown. Otherwise, we're spending the extra 12%. This is just a way for us to save 12% of what we're currently spending. So our bills will be reduced by that 12%.
so we're buying the blocks as needed.
Yes,
All
we would buy
right,
them
we're not-
as needed.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you make bail.
All right, next we have the district attorney FID contract. And I will call on Eric Radnovich.
Good morning, commissioners. And first I want to say thank you for attending our open house, and we do appreciate you attending, and we appreciate your ongoing support. The grant before you, the acceptance of grant before you is for $148,246 with the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. And this will cover some forensic supplies that we wish to purchase, a 3D camera system for collecting evidence, photographic evidence at crime scenes, also upgrading our full spectrum light source, Also involves purchasing a balance for the chemistry section and a large format printer so we can print what we see at the crime scenes. For court presentations.
Any questions for Eric? Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next, we have the contracts for drug and alcohol, and I will call on Ryan Simon and Sally Kammerer to discuss. Ryan and Sally?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first contract is Discovery House. Discovery House provides methadone maintenance and outpatient treatment services. The rates that we're asking for an increase for are the individual and group outpatient sessions. That would be in line with the other outpatient rates that we've asked for increases for earlier in the year. The contract for Janet, our prevention unit provides programs out in to the public during the year, and the contract with Janet would be for her to be able to help out our prevention staff whenever they're out providing these prevention services. The White Deer Run contract, they're asking for increases across their various locations, anywhere from 0% up to 14%. And I had asked for reasoning behind their increases, and their various fiscal officers had sent back replies for each location. They basically came down to increased costs for food, and the major driver was having to increase pay for their staff. They were also trying to do bonuses to try and keep staff from leaving, going to other providers. So that's the reasoning for all of those increases. Did you have questions for those? Okay. Sally was going to cover the red pepper then.
Sally, I think you're muted.
Wow, 3 years in and I'm still not unmuting. Wow. My apologies. Good morning, Commissioners. In January, with your approval, we purchased Qualtrics, a data collection and analysis software. And part of the standard package included an implementation phase. And in that phase, they teach you how to get started with using the software. And the two key words there are get started. And so what we want to do is purchase with some of our special prevention funding, more training so that we can actually develop a framework for all of our data collection and analysis efforts.
Any questions for Sally? All right. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Ryan. Great. Next, I will call on Bethany Salzarulo to discuss the two contracts for elections. And Commissioners, please note these are both action requested today. Bethany?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first is a grant that we had applied for in June. It was additional money for the election security grant that we had previous. And so this would be to enhance the security and technology for elections, for the new Shore system that they're going to be rolling out hopefully this year or beginning of next. So it's just the approval for us to go ahead and get that. And that's due tomorrow, which is why it's action requested today.
Okay, we'll move on these separately. So we'll go ahead at this point and ask for, if there's no questions, ask for a motion.
Yeah, move to approve the request for grant acceptance from the Department of State for $23,031.27.
I second that motion.
It's moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
The next item is the purchase of 15 additional Express Vote XL machines for Election Day. These will really, I think, help the efficiency at the polls and get the voters through faster. And this would be the cost of those 15. and also action requested, because the sooner I can purchase them, the sooner we get them here for this election. Sorry to add that part.
So I will move to approve the purchase of 15 new election machines with a total cost of $207,000.
Question, Bethany.
Yeah.
The purchase of these machines is not eligible for the recent grant.
No, unfortunately, it's not.
Second motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Are there any additional questions? If not, we'll call the action. All in favor indicate by saying aye. The vote is in positive, unanimously. It's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Next, we have the grant accepted or application for facilities, and I will call on Brent Durham to discuss. Brent?
Good morning, Commissioners. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection has a program called the Alternative Fuels Incentive Grant. I'm asking your permission to move forward with a $75,000 grant application to this program. I'm proposing to submit a two-part application. The first section will be for the purchase of 8 battery electric vehicles. The grant award would reimburse $7,500 per vehicle if approved. We had sent out a survey with a list of questions for each vehicle within the county fleet to determine exactly how each vehicle is operated. We then had a study completed to decide which vehicles were possible candidates for electrifying. Of the 46 possible candidates, we honed in on any vehicles that were slated for replacement within the next 3 years, and we found 8 viable candidates. The second portion of the application will be for 6 level 2 charging stations. These stations will be located at 1601 Rittner and at Allen Road, which are the locations where the 8 vehicles will be parked. The charging stations will be used strictly for charging of the county-owned vehicles. This portion of the grant is a 50% cost share. The total projected estimate is $30,000, so I'm hoping that we would be eligible for half of that amount. This concept is to start the process of moving a percentage of our fleet to electric vehicles. The projected cost of ownership savings per vehicle is fairly significant. And at the same time, we're hoping to get some money towards developing a charging station infrastructure. Any questions?
And I just have one, which is, this is a very fast moving area, both in terms of the market and the technology. So do we have plans regarding obsolescence of these and the follow-on purchases that would be involved?
So I have not looked long term, Gary. The most of these vehicles come with an 8-year or 100,000 mile warranty. They have a much longer warranty than their gas equivalents. Most of our vehicles across the county fleet average 8,000 miles per year. So I'm thinking that we're going to get that 8-year mark, and then we'll be looking to trade off and move to another version.
Thank you. That's all.
Brent, the grant amount $75,000 that you're requesting.
Yes.
Is that, am I figuring this correctly? The county portion would be 75 as well for these vehicles and charging station?
The total grant amount is 75,000. What it is there's $7,500 that will be reimbursed towards the purchase of a vehicle. Right, so 8 vehicles times 7,500 is 60,000, and then the charging stations, which is the second part of it, I'm estimating that project at 30,000 and hoping to get a $15,000 reimbursement there. The 8 vehicles that I have listed, our initial cost to purchase those 8 vehicles is $293,619. And we're hoping to get $60,000 of grant money towards that. And the one thing, keep in mind, these are all vehicles that are already on the slate to be replaced in the next 3 years.
Brent, I just thought is a single charger sufficient with 8? I don't know the technology on this at all yet.
So the proposal is to add 6 level 2 chargers. That's what I'm hoping to get grant money for. As we put, the level 2 charger is just a 240 volt charging system. You can also charge the vehicles with 110 volt, which is a level 1 charger. What I'm hoping to do is, as we would add the level 2 chargers, that we would also at the same time add some level 1 chargers beside the level 2 chargers. You know, we'll have the ditches open, we'll have the conduits there. It will be very simple to add a level 1 charger, which is just 120 volt isolated circuit outlet, just like you would have in your house.
Great, for scalable.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Brent, I don't know the details of this, but I have been made aware that Inflation Reduction Act, the Federal Inflation Reduction Act, has a piece of it for these kind of energy projects within municipalities. And I'm wondering if maybe there would be some grant money there that would help to cover these kinds of things. And so I don't know, it's just an idea.
I would need to research that. I'm not aware of that, Jean.
Okay, I'll shoot you some, I'll send you an email just with the basics of what I know, which isn't much, but I definitely think it's worth looking at.
Sure.
Thank you.
Great. Any additional questions? All right, thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the contract for liquid fuels and finance, and Holly Sherman will be covering that for us.
I'm gonna do my best. So, this is change order number 4 for Hertzler Bridge. As the contractor was disassembling the bridge, it was determined that the deterioration to the floor beams was worse than anticipated. Therefore, we need additional steel plates to 6 locations to reinforce the structure. The cost is $3,100 per location for a total of $18,600. I do have the full change order if you would like to see it, and I can ensure that Clark can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay.
Thank you, Holly. Next, I will call on Sue Carball to discuss the contracts for MHIDD. Sue?
Yes, good morning. So we have 3 contracts. The first contract is a mental health contract, which is an amendment for fiscal year 21-22. It's for the NHS Stevens Center. It's an increase of $174,236 for services specific to housing support, residential, and the social rehab startup project in Newport. The next contract is for IDD. It's an amendment already for fiscal year 22-23. It's with Ahead Incorporated. It's an increase of $4,281 for additional services of supported employment. And the last contract is an early intervention contract. It is a new contract for fiscal year 22-23 for communication beginnings. It is for speech therapy, and the contract amount will be $16,346. Any questions?
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Our last section is the contracts for recycling and waste, and Justin Miller is joining us to discuss. Justin?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to give you a little bit of background on this. So Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful has affiliate chapters in counties throughout Pennsylvania. Some of them are made up of volunteers and some are other types of entities. There actually is an affiliate in Cumberland County, Keep Cumberland County Beautiful, which consists of volunteers. It sounds like the volunteer affiliates are fading, harder to replace them. So Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful is approaching counties, especially ones that have recycling centers, about being an affiliate for their organization. They have recently done so with Fayette County. They approached us and asked if we would be willing to serve as an affiliate. I just quickly like to identify what that means. So we would have to maintain a community advisory committee. I have discussed this with the authority. The authority is willing to serve as that committee. So we have that checked off. We have to identify as an affiliate. We have to establish goals and objectives annually, host or partner in 5 programs or events per year. And our events that we currently do at the recycling center would qualify for that. We have to complete program registration reporting, an annual report and survey. And then I would have to participate in 10 hours of related training and education, which a lot of the things I attend now qualify as for that. Additionally, we would have to pay an annual fee to them of $100, but there is some financial benefit. They offer up to $500 a quarter for programs, so we could tap into $2,000 a year of additional funds. There's also a 30-day termination clause in the agreement. So if we do this and it's not working out, we can give them 30 days notice that we're no longer going to do this. Both the authority and I recommend that we try this out, and that you approve this agreement. Any questions on the agreement?
One question, Judd, you mentioned about the 2,000 we'd be eligible for. Is that competitive, or how does that?
Well, I believe these other entities do apply for that. I don't know where their funding for that comes from, but I had quite a few phone calls with them, and I mentioned some ideas, and they didn't seem to think that there would be any issue with that.
Okay, so we pay $100 to be eligible for $2,000.
Yeah, and the other thing I forgot to mention, Gary, the big benefit that I think the authority and I and even Kirk see is I think it brings some larger name recognition to what we do. It may help us attract some sponsors, because not only would they be sponsoring a Cumberland County program, but a Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful program. So we think there might be some benefit in that as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about leveraging that for branding purposes. So you guys are ahead of me as usual. So it sounds great. I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
All right, I'll move on to the DEP grant. This is the standard forms for the household hazardous waste events. It's the reimbursement application and record of operations for our August event. Numbers were very similar to our April event. It was interesting to me. We had 283 customers, 32,153 pounds, once again dominated by paint. Total eligible costs were $26,561.42. We took in $13,975.50 in fees. So then the state will either give you 50% of the eligible costs or the net cost, whichever is less. In this case, it's the net cost. So I'm asking the state to pay us $12,585.92. Any questions on those two forms?
Yep.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
I'll now turn it back over to Holly.
Thank you, Angela. Item number 6 is action requested. It was discussed at the September 15th workshop. Is approval of naming Brian Hamilton as Cumberland County's representative for the South Central Inter-County Phone Network Executive Board.
Okay, entertain a motion. Move to approve naming Brian Hamilton as Cumberland County's representative for the South Central Inter-County Phone Network Executive Board.
I second.
Moved and seconded. There's no further questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good choice.
Thank you. Item number 7, I'll call in James Grant via Zoom to discuss the approval for the Department of Public Safety to receive the following donations to sponsor the 2022 Cumberland County LEPC Sarah Summit. James?
Good morning, everyone. Am I coming through okay?
Yes.
Yep. Good.
Okay, good. Department of Public Safety is asking for the Board of Commissioners approval to receive sponsorship money to be used in offsetting the expenses to host the annual LEPC Summit being held in October. As you all know, this event is for area businesses, first responders, and elected officials who will be able to network with their partners while learning how to be prepared for an emergency. We appreciate these agencies supporting the mission of the LEPC. The LEPC Summit Committee has received a check from MCM Consulting Group in the amount of $1,000 for a gold sponsorship level. Also received a payment from Vitro Architectural Glass in the amount of $500 for a silver sponsorship level, and a payment from Classic Dry Cleaners and Laundromats in the amount of $250 for a bronze sponsor level. The approval of these sponsors would bring our current number of sponsors to 7, with total sponsorship funds to $5,000. So again, we ask for your approval to receive the money to be applied towards this year's summit.
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8, I'll call on Brent Durham for a discussion of authorization to advertise for custodial cleaning at the main courthouse. Brent?
Yes, I'm asking your permission to advertise to accept bids for daily janitorial cleaning services. I'd like to accept bids for the main courthouse, Dennis Marion Building, DRO, Historic Jail, and Business Central. These bids will be for a 2-year cleaning contract with an option to renew for the 3rd year. And our current contract expires at the end of February 2023.
Any questions for them? Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Item number 9, Commissioners' Liaison reports. We'll start with Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, real quickly, we had a pretty extensive update from Justin regarding what they've been up to lately. Don't need to go into all the details, but they've been preoccupied with equipment issues. Of course, that's a big part of what they do. Equipment sharing with the municipalities, particularly York-based this time of year. So he's been really bogged down with a lot of fixes. I think they had a problem that was avoidable, and with one of the municipalities, they're going to be addressing that. But a lot of them are just, these are high maintenance pieces of equipment, and it's that time of year they get a lot of use. So he's been extremely useful in acting and managing the repairs of those. Very important to keep the equipment on the road and in service. And frankly, given the schedule he's had for doing that, I think it's worth mentioning publicly. It's a tough situation to manage, and he's done an excellent job on everything you can see. I'll be getting an update from him in regards to our equipment replacement schedule as well. Most of this equipment is old. It's intended to be old, and there is, of course, the 902 grants that come around either annually or biannually, depending on state's inclination for replacements. I'll ask him to report out to all of us on where that stands as well. So the only other item I have is, as reported at the last workshop, we had MHIDD advisory board. After that, I had gone through all the agenda items with you, giving a preview of the reports from both Sue and Annie. There were no real surprises on that, so everything that I reported in advance was essentially repeated to the advisory council. Nothing new, other than I would just mention that we did, of course, get the fiscal update from Linda McCullough, the fiscal agent, and it's looking very challenging. And as much attention as we gave to the deficit situation this year, she is more concerned than I've ever heard her about forward deficits on that issue. So we're going to be paying a lot of attention to that as we move forward. So just that situation is not resolved by a long shot. Only other item is Katie, and I didn't have a chance to really update with Gary Chicatano, but we are scheduling a meeting for early next week, in which I'm going to get a thorough update. He did say they're moving forward with the interviews on the workforce development, and the committee is also moving forward their programming, planning, and the strategic planning effort continues to move to the next step each passing week. So they are tracking well there. And of course, we're going to be undertaking the executive director search. We'll have a lot of discussion on what that formal process looks like. That's all I have.
Commissioner Fox.
Good morning, everyone. As you know, the LEPC Sarah Summit is coming up. That will be on October 13th at AHEC. On Monday, the 26th, Vince and I attended the Cumberland County Farm Bureau Annual Dinner. So we had a dinner and they had a business meeting. Members of our delegation were there. They gave brief updates. So that was it was a good place to be caught up with a lot of our Cumberland County farmers. It will remind you to use the Cumberland County Library System. And on September 23rd, we had a Harrisburg Transportation Study meeting. A couple of interesting things coming out of that. The bike share program will be moving forward with a limited launch this year and a full launch next year. The 81 improvement strategy, there's been an engineer has already been selected for the work that's going to happen here in the Carlisle area. And the Cumberland County Planning Commission is being engaged with PennDOT and has in a longer term activity input. So I'm glad that our Planning Commission will be working in conjunction to really talk about what needs to happen on 81, particularly in Cumberland County. And Toby Falver, he asked a question of PennDOT about the quality of road surfaces and how they are failing. So there are many road surfaces that have been replaced or repaired with an expectation that we would get 20 years out of those road surfaces, and we are not. So PennDOT is actually planning additional studies to figure out exactly what is going on there. And that is my update. Thank you.
Commissioner DeFilippo.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. Housing Redevelopment Authority met September the 15th, but thank you to Mary Kuna. Her presentation yesterday at the finance meeting really covered a lot more than what I could have covered. So thank you, Mary. Agent Advisory Board met on September 16th. I'd like to report that numbers of participants at all of our senior centers, all 6 of them, are increasing. Big Spring is having a picnic tomorrow, Newville Borough Park. The Department of Aging also recently had members of the Peyton Walker Foundation come in to train a lot of the staff and supervisors on CPA and how to use a AED. It was very well received. Conservation District met Tuesday night, September 27th at the South Middleton Township Park in Boiling Springs. It's rather chilly, but good meeting. We received an application for another conservation excellence grant from the Weary Real Estate LLC, which owns a large dairy operation in Newville, over 700 cows. And they're requesting funding for a roofed heavy use area. This is part of the best management practices for improving water quality. Another application was received from Denny McCullough, Newville, for a roof manure storage facility for his beef operation. The Pennsylvania Conservation District South Central Region will be meeting on October the 5th. This includes counties of Adams, Bedford, Blair, Cumberland, Dauphin, Franklin, Fulton, Huntington, Juniata, Lancaster, Lebanon, Mifflin, Perry, and York counties. Meetings provide open discussion and updates from these counties, and also the PA Department of Environmental Protection, State Conservation Commission, and the USDA will be there giving updates. The golf event, annual golf event, the 20th annual, was held this past Friday. Do not have a full report yet on all the numbers, but we did have 106 participants and a bunch of sponsors, including Commissioner Fauci sponsored a whole. There were nutrient management plans approved for Evan Burkholder, Shippensburg Township. There's an existing concentrated animal operation covering about 25 acres. And Lester Martin, South Middleton Township, where there's an existing concentrated animal feeding operation and volunteer ag operation covering 184 acres, excuse me. Capital Region Council of Governments held its annual picnic, golf tournament, and dinner on September 19th. It was very well attended. And just to add to the comments that Commissioner Fauci made about the Cumberland County Farm Bureau Fall Banquet, they did vote on 4 policy recommendations that will go to the state board for review and possible approval. And that is it.
Thank you. I'd like to report an executive session was held on September 28th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing and seeing none, we are adjourned.